to how we handled this meeting here at the City Council and how it's been done. The City Council meeting is a public meeting open to everybody to come down and speak to the council. If you look at the meeting, it is constantly, the whole time for the meeting, the public talking to the council. Not just during the open comment sections, but also during the items, and every single item that's brought up, it's constantly talking to the public. That's how it's set up. So whether you speak to us at 12 o'clock at night, or 11 o'clock at night, or 10 o'clock at night, every one of those comments you give is just as important, whether it's at 7, 8, 9, 10, or 11. What's happened here is that we've gotten to a situation where people that have business in front of the council, we had how many ordinances recently we passed with regards to group homes, with regards to nuisance ordinances? We had 35, 40 people here to speak. And those people sat there and watched as we went through not only public comments, but then watched the city council have, the warrants pulled because people want to talk about every bill we pay. And the items they were supposed to be talked about at 7 o'clock weren't brought up to 9 and 10 o'clock at night. So when someone gives me the civics class of, we all need to speak, we all need to be heard, the question is, when do you get to speak and when do you get heard? Now, if you get my business card, or you call the cell phone number, at the website, that's my cell phone. You can call me. You can talk to me. I know every other person up here is very accessible. Gary, you can walk into his restaurant. Steve meets people for coffee constantly. You can walk with him in the morning. Sandy and Ms. Leece do the same. You can talk to me all week long. I must do 6 separate, I drink more coffee during the week with people who want to talk about issues. So we're extremely accessible. The issue is, when do these items happen? And so as the mayor, I have to run the meeting and make sure that also the business of the city gets done. And when we have an item that's an ordinance, or we have an item, any kind of item, and people come and want to speak about, there's a development in their neighborhood and they want to speak about it, they shouldn't have to wait till 10, 11, 12 o'clock at night. So as Mr. Valentine said, God, thank you so much for calling, because I can leave early now. I can make my comments and I can go and push everybody else back because their comments at 11 o'clock aren't that important. Well, they have families, they have kids, they need to speak. So it's really just trying to find a balance. So that's all we did here. We're looking at basically a half an hour of comments from the public, to take the rest of the comments on during the meeting. The meeting's always open. You can always talk. It's always here. It may not be the exact time slots you want, but it shouldn't also be forcing people that came here with a scheduled time to get business done, to actually speak about what's happening in their neighborhood or an ordinance, for them to have to go to 1 o'clock in the morning. We're all going to be here, and it's not like we have any special time. We go to the whole duration. None of us leave. But we have to go ahead and make sure that happens. Same thing with the consent agenda. The consent agenda has been abused. It just has been. These items are consent items, and people want to speak about every single item time and time again. Same exact items, same every single time. That's an abuse. It's done. I've never seen it done in any other city, but it's done here. So if you pull an item, fine, we'll talk about it during the meeting, but it will go to the end of the meeting. And that's just how we have to do it. With regards to the process, why we didn't go to the legislative body first, I want to see how the process works. This process is working great. It is absolutely true. There are people who like to come and speak to items that they don't mind pushing somebody else back to midnight on what's happening in their neighborhood or what's happening with an ordinance to make sure they're protected. But they don't care to stay. It's not like they have to go home. They just want to go home. So it's working very well. It's keeping a lid on the meeting as far as people that really want to be here. We're going to be here the whole night. And you're going to speak to us on any issue you want to speak to us for. It's just a matter of when those issues come up and when we're there. And that way we can get the business of the city done here. And that's why I'm doing it. The reason we didn't go to legislative method, we just went to this method, is we wanted to try it out. And it's working very well. And so, Mr. Hatch, if we could, maybe not the next meeting, but the following meeting, make the adjustments on it, and we'll go to a vote. And if the council agrees to go forward with it, that'll be our new method here. Okay, that's it for me.
Thank you, Ms. Verska and Mr. Hatch. I hope that her suggestions regarding changing the wording on the agenda are taken to heart, because I was going to make some of those, but I appreciated your thoroughness there regarding the details that some people have never come to city council meeting before, so they don't know how we operate, and it is important to give them clear directions. Thank you, Ms. Goldman, for coming tonight, and I'm sorry that the homelessness issues have increased at our senior center, so I hope, Mr. Hatch, that you and Mr. Francis can zero in on some solutions and even look at how to go about increasing the coverage from our police department, or if they have to hire a security guard. It was bad when I was there last month, and I think it's gotten worse, and I should be back at the next meeting, so thank you. Yes, we had a great time at the Keep It Natural Fairview Park picnic, and great turnout, and a lot of kids had fun, and it was great to see so many people come out from their neighborhoods. I agree with you, Mr. Pollitt, as far as the intimidation, but I also believe that things like that need to run their course as far as who did it and why, and that we can't accuse anybody yet of doing things like that until it's actually proven. Mr. Moreland from Newport Harbor High School, thank you for coming out again. Appreciate that, to remind us about the effects of realignment. And thank you for sharing what the Newport Beach Police Department is doing. And I'm sure that Chief Gazy will have an update for us, but we're kind of between a rock and a hard place, because several years ago we decided not to continue to have the number of police officers at 136 that we're having, and even before that it was in the 140s. And so now with retirements and officers going other places, we are really understaffed. And so I guess we do need to find a solution, and I know that we will. And I appreciate your stepping up and bringing this to our attention, as another wave of these prisoners will be released. Appreciate, Ms. Guinness, you're talking about the Veterans Hall, so I won't talk about that. But you know, I was thinking over my days of being involved in the city government and the Bill of Rights, and just the opportunity to come down here and speak. I believe that there is a difference between your 3 minutes and your being on an agenda. It might be a developer with a project, and maybe he has to wait till 11 o'clock, but I believe the value of a citizen coming down and speaking at dinner time is part of the U.S. Constitution. The Bill of Rights were written because the U.S. Constitution had really failed to protect the basic principles of human liberty, and it spelled out powers of government, but what about the citizens' rights or infringement of government on these basic rights? And those were resolved at a later time. The First Amendment, Congress shall make no law respecting an establishment of religion or prohibiting the free exercise thereof, or abridging the freedom of speech or of the press, or the right of the people peaceably to assemble and to petition the government for a redress of grievances. No, this isn't Congress, but I do believe, as we've heard this evening, that this new change to limit the number of speakers to 30 minutes is an abridging of a First Amendment. Mr. Mayor, I know that you want to streamline the meetings, and I agree that we should always try and be more efficient. I'm all for doing that, but I think you're making it extremely difficult for our Costa Mesa residents to engage, come here at dinner time, and you, because you have 3 young daughters and you're sure involved in activity, they're involved in activities, and mom rushing here and there to for somebody to get out the door to address their concerns and grievances or ask questions. A lot of people don't know what to do with their problems, but they think, oh, I'll come down here and ask the city council, what should I do with this problem? Consider a mom wanting to come here to advise the council that there are photographers taking pictures of young, scantily clad women posing in nearby Tewinkle Park. This mom observed this photo shoot taking place when she was with her kids in the park. Mom has dad feed the kids dinner. When he gets home, it's all ready, of course. She's going to speak and at public comments, and should be back by 7 p.m. to relieve him. However, on the way out, the baby has a dirty diaper. She stops to change it for dad, finally leaves, arrives breathless at City Hall, only to find out that the chosen 10 people cards have already been selected. She's 10 minutes too late. Now what? What do you, Mr. Mayor, propose she do about her concern for her and other Costa Mesa kids? Nothing compares to exercising our First Amendment right to express ourselves verbally in front of the elected body at the time of the meeting. It's not the same as having coffee. It's not the same as going on a walk. It's not the same as picking up the phone or sending an email. This is our inherent right, and maybe if no other city, it's a tradition in the city of Costa Mesa that we come down here and we talk to those people that have been elected. Emails, phone calls, letters do not have the same effect. Now, about this mom. I was that mom 20 years ago, and I was scared to death to come down here, but through a series, I can't remember if it was a council or it was a Parks and Rec, I came and I spoke, and the problem was solved, and the rules were changed to require permits for photographers that were going to do the photo shoots. I don't remember how it actually, the rules were changed, but that stopped in Tewinkle Park. By speaking, grievances were addressed quickly, letters did not get buried, meetings were not needed to be held. James Madison introduced the first 10 amendments in 1791. Basic human right of freedom of speech is being repressed in this new rule on speakers. Here's a proverb, 1817. The first one to plead his cause seems right until his neighbor comes and examines him. And I think tonight we've had a great outpouring of neighbors who are coming and saying that this policy change is not in the best interest of the city of Costa Mesa.